All right, hey, what's going on, GovEcon students? This is Mr. Dale coming to you with a review video of the Kahoot we played Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and a little bit today. So those of you that played, thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys jumping in. I hope you had some fun with it. Those of you that didn't get a chance to play, no worries. I'd still encourage you to watch this video so you can at least get the correct answers and material from the game itself. So, before we jump into a review, we had some high scores, some of which were phenomenal, that I want to give a quick shout out to. So I'm going to do the top five. In fifth place, I had Bailey from fourth period. She had 26,029 points, which is an excellent score. In fourth place, we had Eunice from sixth period, 27,179. Great job, Eunice. Also representing sixth period is Nia with a score of 30,320. So very, very high score for Nia. Michelle from fourth period, fantastic job, 31,619. Before we go to first place, I just want to say that I jumped in and played a game just to try and set a high score to challenge you guys. I didn't really expect anyone to beat it. I did miss one question. Somebody beat me, and that somebody was Brian from first period, who had a blistering score of 32,866. Brian, excellent job. You should be teaching this class, man. That is fantastic. So in terms of prizes, right now you're obviously getting the shout out in the video. I'll post something to Google Classroom. I want to give you something, so we can either hang tight until we get back here in a few weeks and do like Layaloot or Candy, or we can come up with something else if you want extra credit, or if you want like first dibs on picking the topic for the next video. If you have something in mind, let me know. Just make sure it's reasonable. Yeah, so great job, everybody. Let's go ahead and jump into the game. And I'm just going to do a quick review of all of the questions. On a side note, there were no inappropriate names, which I really appreciate. I expected to see a Joe Mama, and I didn't get one. So I'm going to go ahead and claim that name now, because I think it's hilarious. So I'll be Joe Mama. Now let's go ahead and start. The first question's on scarcity. If you think back to Unit 6, we talked about the underlying assumptions all economists make. The first was everything has a cost, and the second is scarcity, or the idea that all resources are limited. All resources are limited. All right, let's keep moving along here to question 2. This one I actually, I think maybe it's a poorly worded question because I saw quite a few people missed it, but if you think about what's produced in an economy, there's two different types of products. The first is a good, which is like a physical product, and the second is a service, and that's something someone does for somebody, or a company does for someone. So the correct answer here, something useful that people do for each other, is a service. We've talked a lot about supply and demand. That's the last unit we finished before our little break here. Supply is the amount of goods or services that are being produced, where demand is a measure of the amount of people that actually want or need something. So in this case, demand is the blue answer, the number of people who want or need something. Now, with demand comes the law of demand. If you recall, I showed a couple of inverse graphs, right? Showing that as price increased, the amount that people demanded decreased, which makes sense. If the price of something goes up, people will buy less of it. Inversely, as the price goes down, people should, in theory, buy more of it. So in this question, according to the law of demand, as price rises, consumers buy less. Now, when we talk about demand, there's a lot of determinants of demand, or what influences how much people are willing to buy at given price points, the quantity they demand at given price points. Consumer income is one of those determinants. So as people get more money, as their income increases, the demand curve will shift to the right, meaning they'll demand more of a given good or service. This one I think a lot of people struggle with too, because I'm looking for like a real loose definition of economics here. what I was hoping you guys would think back to is those underlying assumptions, right? Everything has a cost, and then it's the study of how people are using scarce resources or limited resources. So the correct answer is green here, guys. This one, this one we didn't do so hot on, and I think it's because I goofed it up. I'm saying a shift from supply 1 to supply 2, but the shift is actually from S to S1, which I think threw a lot of people off. But on that note, what causes shifts in a supply curve? Well, you have to think about the determinants of supply. Technology falls into that category. So if you see an increase in technological capabilities, that would shift the supply curve to the right. They'd be able to produce more goods and services, theoretically at a lower price point, which leads us into our next question, talking about how that shift in supply would impact equilibrium, the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity. So let's take a look here. So here's that graph again. You see the shift. What happened to price? Let's focus on price first. It's actually got a little arrow here showing you price dropped. At the same time, you see that shift moving quantity to the right, so quantity increased. So this new equilibrium point here at S1, the intersection of S1 and demand, indicates that there was a rise in quantity supplied even though there was a decrease in equilibrium price. And that does make sense if you apply that to the real world. As it becomes easier and easier to produce a smartphone or smartphone technology, the price of smartphones comes down considerably, while the availability of them increases substantially, right? You can now go out and get a smartphone that would put the original iPhone to shame for a fraction of the cost, maybe $100 instead of $1,000. That's showing a shift in supply due to technological increases that has lowered the price while simultaneously increasing the quantity supplied. So when we talk about equilibrium, you have your equilibrium price and quantity at this intersection, but the actual market price is not always set at the equilibrium price. So what happens when price is lower than the equilibrium price? You would see too much demand and not enough supply, and this gap right here is what's known as a shortage. A shortage is when demand exceeds supply, or people can't get the amount demanded at the market price point. So the correct answer here is yellow, a shortage. So in an economy, there's people that are making goods or services, and they do it by combining the factors of production: land, labor, capital, technology. These people are known as entrepreneurs. Green. Entrepreneurs are people that are making new goods and services, novel goods and services, using the factors of production. So if you think about what a doctor provides, they provide a service that requires extensive knowledge, and that knowledge is what's known as human capital. It's a tool, in essence, that allows humans to produce goods and services, or produce more of a good or service. It's not tangible. You can't hold a doctor's education, but we do recognize its value, especially in creating consumer goods or services, like you're a pediatric doctor, or if you need surgery, or if you just need a routine checkup. All of these are skills acquired by a doctor that we can refer to as human capital, or a human's ability to produce more goods and services. And this isn't just true of doctors. I, for example, have human capital in the form of being able to teach economics or government. All right, next question. So if we talk about human capital, the idea that humans can increase their ability to produce goods or services, we also have to talk about the actual physical goods and services, the actual physical capital that can produce goods and services. So a tractor is an example of that, which allows us to produce more agricultural goods, more crops. So the correct answer here is physical capital. It's something that allows us to produce more goods and services that's tangible, that you can hold, that you can see and touch and feel. So marginal analysis is the idea that we're looking at how much something will cost, the next unit to produce, how much it will cost. That's marginal cost. And what we will get in return by producing that next unit. And that's benefit, marginal benefit. So you'll recall, in marginal analysis, we would look at the cost of producing the next thing, And if that cost is less than the benefit we would receive, then we would go ahead and do that thing, produce the next unit. Whereas if the cost is greater than the benefit, if it's going to cost us more than we're going to get back, we decide not to do that thing. Makes a lot of sense, right? So kind of in the same vein is the idea of what we're giving up to do something. Now, in marginal analysis, we're looking at what we're giving up to produce the next thing, but there's a more holistic version of that we've talked a lot about in class, and that's opportunity cost. Remember, opportunity cost is looking at the total cost of what it takes to produce something or do something. It's if you're going to go to college, not only the cost of going to college, but the cost of what you're not doing, the next best alternative. So it's not a trade-off, college versus going to work. It's the total cost of college, the interest you're going to have to pay on your loans, the fact that you're not going to be working, the fact that you're going to have to wake up early to go to some classes, all of that weighed together to help us determine, does the benefit of going to college outweigh the opportunity cost? So next up, we're talking about production possibilities, and specifically this curve right here, known as the production possibilities curve, and points along the line itself, known as the production possibilities frontier, represent the absolute most an economy can make of two goods or services. So that would be maximum efficiency, the blue point. Maximum efficiency. If you're anywhere along the curve, like that point B we were looking at, where you're producing right at the point furthest along the curve, somewhere on the curve itself, you're producing at maximum efficiency. Now, economies don't always produce at maximum efficiency. Sometimes they're to the left of the curve, like point A right here. If point B is maximum efficiency, and point A is a little bit less of good Y and a little bit less of good X, are we utilizing all of our factors of production efficiently or at their maximum level of output? The answer is no, which means that we are in a state of underutilization. We're producing less than we theoretically could. Inefficient is also a good way to describe this. Those are pretty much used interchangeably when describing points to the left of a production possibilities curve. So in an economy, you have people that are able to focus on one specific skill set. For example, Mr. Dale is a teacher, your parents might be in accounting or finance or working as a grocer. I don't have to go out and grow my own food, I don't have to build my own house, I'm free to specialize in teaching. And that's something that an economy really values, because instead of having to spread my time becoming just okay at a lot of different skills, I can focus at being really, really good at one skill. I can specialize in just one skill. And that's teaching for me. It could be a doctor, it could be a truck driver, any type of job that requires skill, you can specialize in it and become really good at just that one thing. A little bit of a Latin lesson for you guys. Got any Roman Empire fans? So laissez-faire is a term you'll hear thrown around a lot, specifically in regards to free market economics and capitalism. It's the idea that the government should not have a lot of involvement within the economy. So something like hold on or take control or lots of government doesn't make sense. The only logical answer here is the blue one, let go. Laissez-faire means let go, and in an economic sense, it means less government involvement, or just let the free markets do what the free markets do without any type of regulation or interference from the government itself. One of our economic indicators we talked about, probably the most popular, the one you're going to hear a lot about in the news here in the coming weeks, is GDP, or gross domestic product. And it is actually measuring the amount of goods or services that an economy produces. And that could be in relation to a local economy like Las Vegas, a regional economy like the Southwest of the United States, a national economy like the United States itself, and in some instances, even a global economy. So next up is economic systems. Remember, we had those different economic systems, theories, or ideas on how an economy can be structured. The one based on voluntary exchanges is the free market economy. A command economy is one where there's a lot of government involvement. The government is controlling the factors of production and determining output, things along those lines. Communism is a type of command economy. And then a Baby Yoda economy, I have no idea what that is. It seemed funny when I put it in there. All right, and on that note of economic systems, the godfather of one of them is Karl Marx, and he had a idea that there should be a lot of government control over an economy until we can get to a point where the government kind of dissolves and there's just pure community ownership of all of the economic resources. And that idea is commonly referred to as communism. Some people also call it Marxism. All right. So going back to free markets, which is kind of the antithesis of a command economy, the idea is that everyone works independently in their own self-interest because they're motivated by incentives and profit. So while self-interest, profit, and incentives are all right, the most right is greed, all of the above. All of these things kind of work together to guide us towards producing the goods and services that other people want. It's the idea of the invisible hand of the free market. If you remember that hand that kind of pushes people to do the things that other people want them to do, to get a degree in teaching and go teach, or to start making pencils, like in our example from Milton Friedman. We're kind of going back and forth here. So again, the economic system that calls for government control of the means of production would best be described as socialism. Socialism involves a high degree of government control, but it is a spectrum, especially when used in political talk. But pure, unadulterated socialism would be the idea that the government controls all of the means of production and determines output and determines priority without the involvement of the free market. Free market economics and capitalism kind of go hand in hand. They are often used interchangeably, and where Karl Marx was considered like the godfather of communism, Adam Smith would kind of be considered the godfather of capitalism and free market economics. A production blank curve means possible output combinations for an economy. So this one's harping back to those first couple of questions we had. We saw it, it's a production possibilities curve. What is possible? Not necessarily where we're producing, but where in theory could we produce? And then going back to our very first question on scarcity, one assumption that all economists make, the first one we talked about is scarcity, that all resources are scarce. And the second is certainly not communism number one. It's actually that there is a cost associated with everything you do. So the correct answer is blue. Everything has a cost. All right, guys, that is it. This isn't the actual podium. This is a different instance of the game. So if you have any questions or concerns or want me to go deeper in any topics, let me know. Otherwise, I really appreciate everything you guys have been doing to stay on top of this stuff. I know it's been a little bit funky, but I look forward to continuing to make some fun videos for you. I've actually got a couple cool ones planned for this week. My goal is 3 videos. I might need your guys' help with one of them, so keep an eye on Google Classroom. Otherwise, again, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing fantastic, and please do not hesitate to reach out if you need anything from me. Thanks, guys.